Last time on FML Gamer, I was talking about updates of 2015. That's right, new games, new updates of the PS4. So check out episode 11 after this episode. But today, I'm going to be talking about this certain issue that we're all having right now. It's called graphics. Do they really matter? I mean, for example, rumor has it that Uncharted is going to be 1080p but 30 frames per second instead of 60 frames per second. So what's going on? I know a lot of fanboys on Uncharted are really upset about it, saying, oh, we are in the current gen now. Why couldn't it be 60 frames per second? But there's more to it, fellas, for you fans of Uncharted. So, stay tuned on the next episode of FML Gamer as I talk about if graphics do matter or not. So, get ready, folks, for the new episode and for the new year, and let's do this. Let's go, gamers. Episode 12. Do graphics really matter? What is up, gamers? This is Drago1983 with another episode of FML Gamer. Hope you all enjoying your weekend and your days off or whatever. Today I'm going to be talking about graphics. Basically, I've been hearing a lot of rumors. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but they say that Uncharted 4 is going to be 1080p, but it's going to be 30 frames per second. Now, some people are making a big deal about it, saying like, well, you know, we got the next gen consoles, well, not called next gen, but current gens now, that, you know, all games should be 1080 and 60 frames per second. Of course, they got the 1080p right, but some games are not 60 frames per second, you know, because I noticed that mostly shooters are 60 frames per second, like the Call of Duties, also the Wolfenstein, the New Order, and then I just found out that Infamous Second Son is not 60 frames per second, it's 30 frames per second. Because when I played it, like, there are some little cuts in the game where it looks like 60 frames per second, but it's not, as you can see through my gameplay and all that. But my opinion about the graphics is that I really, like, somewhat care about the graphics or not, or somewhat, but I believe that certain games should have 60 frames per second. Like, of course, for instance, Uncharted 4. I think it should be 60 frames per second, but it's not going to be. It's going to be only 30 frames per second. Because, I'm guessing because, you know, there's basically certain things that are not going to work with the game, and basically you have to do certain sacrifices to make the game, you know, make it look beautiful and run good. So, and also, when I read on Facebook, on Dying Light, which I'm getting this coming week, or sorry, in 2 weeks, they say that is also going to be 30 frames per second, so it's not going to be 60 per second, because they're saying that there's certain things in the game that's not going to be able to run good if it's all through 60 frames per second. So they're saying they're making like a big sacrifice, you know, basically, you know, like there's certain things you can't do on 60 frames per second as they tested out the game, but now they're going to basically leave it at 30 frames per second. But they're saying that we're really working on the game, and that they say it runs really good. They've done a lot of tests lately, and so basically, you know, once I get the game, hopefully it looks good. You know, like I said, I got other friends who really don't care about the graphics. They just care about that it runs good, it plays good, has a good story, has some interesting characters, but that's it. And some people who, you know, are really complaining and really mad, saying that why is Uncharted 4 not 60 frames per second? You know, because this is the PS4 now, and like, come on, like, where's the 60 frames per second? Like, this is supposed to be the powerful console than the X-Boner. But again, we shouldn't complain about how the game looks, and, you know, how the gameplay is, and, you know, how it works. You know, for me, I just care about gaming. As long as it plays good, it has a good story, like I said before, has some interesting characters, then I'm good. I really don't care if the graphics are 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. But again, some games should be 60 frames per second, and, you know, there are certain games that I was hoping that was 60 frames per second, but it's not. But like I said, I thought Infamous Second Son was 60 frames per second, but it's not. And also Tomb Raider, the definition edition was only 60 frames. Oh, sorry, was 30 frames per second instead of 60 frames per second. Even though to me it looks 60 frames per second, so I'm like, okay, you know, as long as it looks good, it looks good still. So I'm happy, you know. But we shouldn't complain about how it looks, you know. Like, come on, like we gotta give developers some credit, you know. They, of course, they do want to make games look good and all, and make it 60 frames per second. It's just that, you know, they say like, well, we really can't because, you know, you can't do this certain thing or you can't do that. But well, hopefully, you know, in the next 5 years or something, the next PS5 console or whatever, you know, it might, all games, it might be 1080p and 60 frames per second or higher. I don't know. Like I said, who knows what the future is and what's gonna be. So I guess that's all I gotta say about the graphics. I don't really have nothing else to say, but thank you for watching. Again, if you have any suggestions, sorry, if you have any suggestions that you guys want me to talk about, just leave your comments or just, you know, hit me up through gaming or whatever. Pretty much everybody knows my PSN tag name already. So, but again, thank you guys for listening. Just share with your friends and take care, guys, and just keep on gaming and just, you know, don't cry that the game doesn't look good or it's not 60 frames per second. Just, you know, if you like the game, play it. You know, who cares about what other people say about the game that's not 60 frames per second? If you enjoy the game, if you love the game, if you love the series, then buy it, enjoy it. All right, take care, guys, and just keep on gaming.